Hello and welcome to PRSay. This is the official podcast of the Houston chapter of the Public Relations Society of America. And I'm your host, Veronica Sofer. Thrilled to be here with you for another great episode. What I love about this podcast is the Houston chapter members get an opportunity to know each other a little bit better, find out more about how we all got into this amazing field of public relations so that when we do see each other in person, we're connecting and we've got something in common. So love this podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of PRSay. And if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, drop us some comments and my guest and I will circle back to make sure that we are staying connected. So we'll go ahead and get this episode started. I've got an amazing guest today joining us. We have Ty Hughes joining us. Hello, hello.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you for having me.
So excited that you're on the show. I can't wait to learn more about you. We haven't met in person before, so this is literally a first time meet.
Yes, exactly. No, I'm really thrilled when you reached out. I was super excited and I told everyone I know. So hopefully it comes out good.
Great. Good. Well, Ty, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do in PR, kind of how you got here. We all have different ways in which we got here, but I'd love to hear your story.
Absolutely. So I started at U of H, go Cougs. So Cougar for life. And I studied media production there. And right out of school, I, didn't really know exactly how I was going to break into that field, and I was struggling a little bit, but I had been working at a restaurant, which you all may know, which is Benji's, which is a Houston favorite, which they also own local foods and now Lee's Den. This is a little ad, I guess, for them right now.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was a server there for many years throughout college. And, there was a couple there that was really wonderful. They were regulars of mine and they had really been super supportive when I was in school and always asked me questions. We knew so much about each other. And one of them was like, hey, my cousin, she owns her own firm and they just merged to a larger firm. Would you be interested in her, meeting? And I was just like, sure. She's like, okay, great. She's on the way. And I was like, okay. So,
oh my gosh.
So I had an impromptu interview when I was waiting tables, but it ended up, we hit it off really well. And then, down the line, I reached out over LinkedIn and I was just like, hey, I know we met. Are you hiring? Are you looking? And at the time I was working part-time as an intern and was also doing some food specific social media management for restaurants like Cultivare, Liberty Kitchen, Ramen Tatsuya through Carla Gomez and Sarah Bray, who were amazing mentors. Shout out to them. They're also women-owned firms in Houston. And so, was talking with this new prospective boss and, we really hit it off and she was like, just come in for an interview. And it went really well. I, was at 1035 for 3 years. Really, really enjoyed it. And their area of expertise is everything multicultural. And I've learned with a lot of brands, multicultural is a very broad thing. It's not just, I think people mostly think just ethnicity, but I think for a lot of brands, they need to know how to speak to Gen Z, how to speak to women, how to speak to the, LGBTQ plus community. So that's kind of all encapsulated in multicultural. And I was really able to shine there and, get to lean into communities that I belong to, which was really, really nice because it wasn't just about the research. It was also about what you're living every single day and getting to bring your full self to work and having clients that champion that, which is amazing.
Oh, I love that. That makes my heart sing. And so what did you do while you were there? Was it just strictly digital media or were you really getting a chance to maybe step into some other parts of the work?
So I did kind of expand, yes, more from social and still, I still play with that a little bit here and there, but mostly just, really strong media relationships, and if I can give any tips to any people who are starting out, I think a big part of the communications field really is relationships. It's relationships with your peers, people at other firms, people at your own firm, influencers, because that's your intellectual property at the end of the day. Like those
That's right.
connections that you make. And it does pay a lot to remember people's birthdays and to remember, when someone gets a promotion on LinkedIn or something like that, to make sure that you're not just engaging with people. So it's super transactional, like, hey, I need a placement here, to cut through all that noise because journalists are getting emails all day, every day. Just, once they see a familiar name or see your phone number, that really just, once you can break through, it's so much easier and you can manage expectations better with your clients. You can let them know, hey, I gave them a ring and they're down, or no, they're going to pass this time, but at least you can get those quick answers versus pitching and follow up and pitching and follow, like, just over and over again.
No, that's really great advice. And I love the personalization. One of the tricks of the trade that I like to implement is literally writing out thank you cards. And I try to mail 5 to 10 a week.
Oh, wow, that's great. You are much more disciplined than I am, but that's amazing.
Well, I'm not great at it every week, but I get it at least every other week I'm doing it. And then I get really proud of myself because it's all about relationships, especially in public relations, whether you're doing events or social media or just even traditional media pitching. You're, like you said, name recognition is key to success, whether you're promoting yourself or your business or your clients.
Absolutely. No, it's definitely helped me a lot. And it does take time, though. It's not
Yeah.
something that happens overnight. You want to make sure that you're quick and concise when you're reaching out to people. I know you know all this obviously already, but and then once you establish that relationship again, just making sure that you're consistently communicating. And I think the best part about it too is that it just makes your job more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's way better to reach out to a friend and catch up and talk a little bit about work versus, hi, can you please do me this huge favor and cover this thing? And, it also makes people more flexible because we know that clients sometimes have certain rules or stipulations about how they're perceived in the public or in media or with influencers. And they're a lot more flexible when you have a strong relationship with them.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. What are some of the mistakes that you learned from kind of coming in as a young professional? I mean, you came right out of college, you have this great impromptu interview, and then all of a sudden you're at a firm kind of living your best life. But what are some of the mistakes that you learned from that really helped you grow as a communications professional?
So, I think the biggest one, and it's something that I still have to remind myself of sometimes, is just making sure I guess it's two big ones. One is just making sure to always have, that self-starter initiative and not
Yeah.
waiting around for people to respond. I think when I was earlier in my career, I was a little bit more timid, and sometimes, I didn't hear back from my boss on this and that. So I would just be like, well, I didn't hear from them. So I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm just gonna let it, but that's not an excuse. Things need to move
Right.
forward. And that's never, if something doesn't move forward or doesn't progress, the answer can't be, well, I didn't hear from you. That's not acceptable. And I
Hmm.
learned from not doing that. It's you only hurt yourself in those moments by, kind of ducking and covering. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that I learned is just, something that a mentor told me very early on is that, at your stage right now where you're at, there's nothing you can do that I can't undo. And I think I was always very nervous to approach things. And when you're nervous and not confident, then you will make a mistake. That
Yeah.
mistake that you're thinking of in your head, you will manifest if you keep putting that out there. If you don't
Yeah.
speak confidently, people don't trust you as a resource. It just, so I learned, and that one was a one that I had to work on a lot with my team to, build my confidence and my skills. And I still struggle with that sometimes. Still sometimes, I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't really know if this is going to work the way we think it is, but I'm going to be confident in the fact that I will do my best, and that if there is a problem, I will find a solution. I can be
Hmm.
confident in that.
Yeah, no, that's really great advice. And that's such a great reminder because if we're not always pushing the envelope a little bit for our own comfort, I read something recently that said, if you're not uncomfortable at least 3 times a week, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I
And I was
love
like, wow, okay. Or maybe I should reevaluate. So, but I think that's exactly right. Like we got to be learning and growing. And I think for young people, it comes a little more natural because it's part of the growth process. But as an older PR practitioner or more seasoned, I should say, we get stuck in the rut. We stop growing sometimes. And so I love that reminder because it's good for everybody at every level.
absolutely.
That's awesome. So tell me about some of the things you're doing now. So you were there for a few years and now you tell us what you're doing these days.
So actually, when this comes out, I will be at my first week at Edelman, which is super exciting. There's a lot of cachet and prestige that comes with Edelman, and it's definitely a place that I wanted to work at early in my career, and I really kind of thought about that and thought about how do I consciously make those efforts, But one thing I was nervous about was like, it is general market. I focused so much on multicultural, and I was fortunate enough to have an opportunity to work with their multicultural team. So it's more
Oh,
Latino specific, which is great. I get to flex my bilingual skills. I get to make my mom and my abuela proud. Like I'm really excited
I
to
love
do
it.
that. She was super proud. I still don't think my grandma knows fully what PR is, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
that's all right.
And so, yeah, so I'll be starting very soon. And so that's what I've been up to lately. And I recently actually, I don't know if you even knew this, I recently moved to New York from Houston.
Oh,
So it's my first time living away from home. It's been quite an experience, definitely adjusting. And funnily enough, when I do meet people when I'm out and about and networking and trying to connect with others, most of the time, those who are very receptive, they're cool. We start talking, and then they're from Texas too. They're like, "Oh, I'm
yeah.
from San Antonio. Oh, I'm from Denton. I'm from El Paso." And I'm like, "That's why we connected."
Yeah, that's why we connect. Well, while you're at Edelman, you have to look at my cousin,
Oh,
Matthew Savala. He is he's the executive creative director at
oh,
Edelman in New York. So you'll have to look him up and say, hey, I talked to your cousin the other day on her podcast.
perfect. No, thank you for the connect. Networking is key.
It's
So yes,
key. That's right. And that's what PRSA is all about. Connecting is key. I love that you said that too about meeting people from Texas, because oftentimes people want to find an easy way in, but being
mhm.
able to say, oh, I'm from Texas. It's such a large state that you end up knowing so many people. You go to a networking event and you can instantly talk to like 10 people, and it's so much easier.
Yes, I've noticed that I never thought I had an accent, but it is so strong here. I don't know why. Every time I say y'all every other word, but to your point, it just has that connection and that warmth that, someone. I think people's walls come down a little bit. You can speak more freely and really get to know people. And again, going back to the relationships thing, once you have that strong
Yeah.
relationships with others, you have that trust, you can communicate a lot more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Well, I'm so excited for you, Ty. I think you are up to amazing things, and I can't wait to see what you do in your career. You'll have to keep us all posted. How can people stay connected to you?
Yes, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It should be Ty Hughes. Also on Instagram, I am at this one guy Ty. I made that name in high school, so I might need to change it to be a little bit more professional. I thought it was kind of cheeky back then, but those are my main forms of communication. And I guess if anybody ever wants to email me, I should have that in my LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, that's so exciting. All right, guys, this is Ty Hughes. Thank you for joining us on PRSay. It was great to chat.
Thank you.
All right, make sure that you share this episode with all your PRSA friends all over the country, because this is all about connecting and really growing our base as public relations practitioners. So thank you for tuning in. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We don't want you to miss any episodes of PRSA. And if you're watching on Facebook or on YouTube, drop us some comments, and Ty and I will be sure to connect. We will see you next